Hi everyone, my name is Henry, and my appearance drives everyone crazy. I know, for a guy, you'd think that's a very self-righteous statement, but it is in fact a fact. And if you think my life is like cheese in butter, you're wrong. I'm going to tell you what life is really like for the most handsome guy in town. I was born handsome already. If babies are usually red, wrinkled with a disgruntled face, my face was smooth, white and smooth. And I didn't seem to bother coming out of the other world at all. My mother told me that as soon as the obstetrician saw me, he immediately said, "He is beautiful. Congratulations. You have the most beautiful baby boy." And my mother, taking me on her chest, was also struck by how beautiful my eyes and long eyelashes were. They were both immediately visible. After 3 months, when I was already more interesting, began to smile, became even more beautiful. My mother's friends only took pictures of me that way. Everyone prophesied that I would grow up and break the hearts of girls. That's how it turned out. The first girl who decided to claim me was in kindergarten. I went there. There were a lot of strange children playing, chewing toys, breaking things, destroying. And I stood there looking for something to do. Then Lily came up right away. She was blonde, a head taller than me, and about 15 centimeters wider than me. Lily silently took my hand like a doll and sat me down at the table and sort of poured me lemonade. She handed me a toy glass and said, "Drink." I was scared shitless of her, so I sat there and drank, and it lasted forever. When I wanted to go potty, I got up and she was like, "Where are you going?" "I have to pee." "I'm coming with you." "Why?" "So the girls don't come over." I didn't know what she was talking about. I peed, and then it was time for lunch. Even at the table, the girls paid attention to me, and each tried to buy porridge from her own plate, even though they all had the same. But Lily just moved closer and took the spoons away, sometimes throwing hers away so that I wasn't taken away. The teachers laughed. They were amused. But no one ever asked me how the hell I felt. The day was over, and I ran out quickly to my mum and asked her not to take me there anymore. Mum genuinely wondered why. Then Lily came up to me, looked at my mum, and was like, "I'm Lily. I and Henry are getting married soon," and then left. "Now I see why," my mum said. For about 1.5 weeks, I came running back in tears because Lily wouldn't give me peace of mind. Not only did she not allow me to leave her, but she also used to beat those girls who tried to play with me. My mum had already talked to her mother, but she shook her hands. Like, what can you do? First love. Love? Love? Are you serious? I didn't sign up for this. Through tears, I managed to convince my mum to change the garden, but the situation didn't change. There was a different Lily in each of them. Then I grew up. I went to school, and then I learned how to say no. Throughout the class, I could hear the girls talking over my name. I felt uncomfortable. Each one tried to sit next to me. It was a good thing I had a friend to help me out. He always sat next to me. Chad used to call me lucky, like any girl I wanted was mine. But I didn't want that kind of relationship. It was more like an abusive relationship. "I wish I had your looks. I'd rock out like that." Like what? You know, pick up girls, hook up with them, and then when you don't like them, dump them. But what's the point? That's the point, bro. You don't have to worry about it. They're all yours. You won't be chasing them. They'll be chasing you. All you have to do is choose. Fuck it. It's not interesting. Yeah, if you were like me, I'm not ugly, but I'm not handsome either. I have to pick up flowers or learn a poem to pick up a girl. You just have to be yourself and wash your face at most, right? Well, you finally figured it out. No, I just need to become a freak. Why? To get away. I don't get it. Chad, you're a genius. I ran home and looked at my reflection in the mirror, took scissors, cut off my eyelashes, shaved off my eyebrows, and generally shaved my head. My mum almost had a heart attack. I came to school like this, and you know what? The girls called me brave. Like, I'm not only beautiful, but I'm also brave now. And after a month, I grew out. My eyelashes, eyebrows, and hair even got blacker than it was, and I was even more handsome. A couple of years went by, and I already had come to terms with it. And then it started to happen. Yeah, I became a handsome goat. Like Chad told me to do, I just enjoyed having girls hit on me. I went from one girl to the other. I made no promises, no strings attached. Like 1 or 2 dates, and then the next day I was with someone else. And I like that. In addition to Chad, I made a couple of other friends. And I realized that they only hung out with each other to kind of get a little something out of it. and it really worked. I didn't care. Life got more interesting. Finally, Lily was gone, and now it was just me and my beauty. My reputation changed. Everyone began to call me macho, but no one refused to spend time with me. Even though she cried after, I lived well. And as they say, love is evil. And I'm not talking about the girls who fell in love with me. The time came when I fell in love. I was sitting on Insta and saw an interesting profile, a girl about my age. She was drawing awesome. I always wanted to be able to draw, but I was not given that gift. I liked her pictures. I commented a lot. I was sure that she would notice me and upon visiting her profile would immediately fall in love. But this didn't happen. Honestly, it hit me. It hurt. I was angry. I thought yes to her. She doesn't want it and doesn't need it. So a week went by. I kept looking at her profile, looking at every post. And then I texted, "Hi, gorgeous work." She read it but didn't respond. I wrote another. "My name is Henry. Nice to meet you. Maybe we could get a coffee together." But she ignored that too. And then it became some kind of fucking joke. I wrote in the morning, afternoon and evening like, "Good morning, how are you? How's your day going? Good night." But she wouldn't say anything. I got mad. I didn't write and then I went at it again. I didn't want to share this with someone, so I didn't know how to be in these situations. You cannot ask anyone for advice. And then I turned on a hacker in me. In short, I tracked one story from her friend. I realised that they are often there. Figured out the approximate days and time and got there. I drank about 6 cups of coffee, ate lunch and then asked for more coffee, and finally I saw her. She walked in there with brushes in her hands. Her thin fingers were stained in paint, as was her white shirt. There was a trace of blue paint on her jeans, and her hair was in a careless bun penciled in. She's so romantic. She didn't even notice me. She sat down at the next table facing me. I was so nervous, I fixed my hair and straightened up, and she sat there for about 20 minutes and wouldn't look at me. I waited until her friend went to the bathroom and sat down next to her. "Hi." She was surprised, frowned, and then looked at my face. Are you that guy from Insta?" "Yeah, my name's Henry." "I don't hang out with maniacs." "Why do you have to be such a stalker? How did you know I was going to be here?" "Coincidence. You've got 6 cups of coffee on the table. You were expecting someone, obviously me." "You're very observant. Go back to your seat." I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, I like you a lot, but you're not answering my messages." "Maybe it's because I'm not interested in you." "No way! You just said that because you have 22,000 followers, lots of comments from chicks like, 'What a hottie.' Have you looked at my profile? I mean, Henry, mass liking doesn't mean everyone's going to like you, you know? You did look at my profile." "Oh my God, it's impossible to communicate with you. Go back to your seat." Then her friend came up and looked at me questioningly. I apologized and sat back down. 15 minutes later, they left, and I was still enjoying the fact that we were finally talking. And I started coming there to that cafe. I came with flowers, chocolates. Once I even gave her paints and brushes. I brought toys, even shoes and t-shirts, passed them through the waiters, left them on the table, handed them to her personally. Then I managed to find a studio where she painted. I just flooded the place with flowers. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat or drink. I dreamt about her. I felt like this is what first love was all about. She was driving me crazy, not accepting the gifts, not answering my messages. I was an empty space in her life, and inadvertently remembered the tears of the girls whose hearts I had once broken. And it drove me crazy. Living with these feelings became so unbearable that I shared them with Chad. You should have seen his face when he heard my story. "What the hell are you laughing at? I don't feel good." "Haha, you can shower her with gifts all your life. You still won't get laid." "Do you know her?" "A lot of people know her. She often marches for the rights of sexual minorities." "What minority?" "Yeah, bro, her friend who is always with her isn't just a friend. It's her girlfriend." "What?" My world turned upside down. You know, I was ready to accept the fact that she has a boyfriend or she just doesn't want a relationship. But a moment like that meant only one thing, that I really didn't stand a chance. I pined for a couple of months after that. I stopped writing, stopped giving gifts, and unsubscribed from her. "Now you know how your groupies feel," Chad told me. "Fuck you," I told him, and sighed loudly. Life is a boomerang, guys. That's what I learned.
What do you know about arguments and excitement? I think I know almost everything. My name is Milana, and I was born in Las Vegas. Even my place of birth speaks for itself. Excitement is in my blood. My parents met during a game of poker. My father was a player, and my mother was the one who dealt the cards. She was working in a casino at the time. Dad won many times and then lost, and after each loss came to take revenge. So they flirted with each other for about a couple of weeks, and then he finally decided to ask her out. 6 months later, they were married at the same casino where my mother worked. Over time, father got a job there in order to simultaneously protect her from other men's bribes. My mother was a prominent one, so we always had playing cards in the house, unnecessary chips. I remember when I was growing up, my mom and dad always played together in the evenings and taught me. When I was 6 years old, I was a master at playing cards. When I was 8, I played with my parents and even won sometimes. I liked the feeling of victory. It was also interesting to plunge into the game. You never know what is waiting for you, and it was fascinating. Well, the coolest thing started when I entered school. Oh, how many times my parents were called because I was playing in the back. But I was interested in watching the surprised faces of my classmates. They were so attentive to my hands, to the tricks that I learned to do with cards. After school, we chose a place in the park, Square Park, and I just played. Or rather, I taught the children how to lay out cards, cheat unnoticeably, and place bets based on the behavior and condition of the player. Well, I couldn't help it. This attention that I received from the environment was too sweet, and over time, I got used to it. I was like the card queen of the class. There was no one who could surpass my skill in sleight of hand. However, this did not last long. My crown was removed from my head by our new classmate. He came in the middle of the year, moved with his parents from another city. When I started to lay out the next set of cards, he came up to us at recess and stared at my hands. I noticed it, and I thought, am I just imagining it? But I wasn't. In just a fraction of a second, he snatched the cards out of my hands and began almost juggling them, performing tricks that I'm still trying to learn. Oh, he's a scoundrel. Before my eyes and in the eyes of my classmates, my authority was failing. Now the title of the best is no longer mine, and I was not worthy. I was so angry, but I didn't even know his name. So I snatched my deck out of his hands and told him to go to hell. I came home in a bad mood. I was very angry with him. Why did this happen? What the hell? Why was he in my class? How do I use my fame now? I spent the whole evening complaining about it to my mother, and she just laughed and then advised me to have a fair fight for the title of the card leader in the class. I didn't immediately understand what that meant. My mother explained that if I do not want to fall face down in the dirt in front of the guys, I must prove not only the skill of sleight of hand, I must also prove that I also have a character of steel, that I am not afraid of competition, and I do not perceive defeat as anything but a springboard to the sky. Yes, it's decided. I will fight tomorrow. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual, carefully selected my wardrobe, and went to school determined. I brought my best deck of cards, which my father gave me. They were the first in my life and always brought good luck. After school, I suggested that Maximilian, as he was called, play a game of 21, and he agreed. We met in the park, and our classmates gathered around us. It was quite a sight for them. I've never been so nervous before a game as I was that time. What do you think? I started losing right away. I demanded revenge again and again, and I was unlucky. I already thought that maybe he was cheating, but no matter how hard I tried to see his face, mood, and facial expressions, everything seemed to be clear. This can't be happening, I shouted, throwing my cards on the ground. I was so angry that I could have kicked him in the face. We played for hours on end. My hands were already cramping and my head was aching from the exertion. I couldn't believe I was losing to Maximilian. It wasn't my day. I took my bag and went home angry. My mother listened to my emotional story and said that with such strong enemies, it is better to stay close, so it will be more useful to be his friend. But I wasn't going to be friends with someone who had trampled on my reputation. All the next day at school, I didn't talk to anyone, much less look in Maximilian's direction. I was disgusted by him. But suddenly, he came up to me during lunch and offered to eat at the diner after school. He must be up to something, I thought. I was about to tell him to go away, but I suddenly remembered my mother's advice about enemies. Okay, I told him. As agreed, I met with him after class. Max immediately started with a case. I know you're mad at me. You were the best card player here before I came along. But I didn't play you on purpose. It's just the way I am. I play well, and you make a few mistakes. I don't want to compete with you, but if you want to prove your coolness, let's choose a neutral battlefield. Let the guys come up with tests for us, and we will pass them, he said. I sipped my milkshake and knew he was right. That's what I needed. I agreed, and we agreed with our classmates to go camping next weekend. Our classmates tried hard enough. They came up with such crazy tasks that some of them wanted to scream with fear. Marguerite came up with a competition to see who could drink a liter of water faster. Mark gave us a speed run. Donna came up with chemistry and math problems. And Trinity asked us to sing a song. Let's take a bet. Who will eat a kilo of worms? George asked us. Max just frowned. The score was the same, so it was the last and decisive contest. I couldn't back down, and my blood was racing. I shouted, trying not to imagine what was waiting for me. Maximilian looked at me, as did all the other boys, with great surprise. Look, you don't have to do this. I've already realized that you are a stubborn person, Maximilian said. But I gave my word and I had to keep it. Then George handed me a kilo of jelly worms and said, You win. Oh, yes! I won! It was a contest for stubbornness and fortitude. I made it! Everyone was laughing at George's great prank, and Max shook my hand. I was happy and finally calmed down. All in all, it was just a crazy day. And you know, since then, Max and I have become friends, because we have so many interests in common, right?